welcome to the Prince Magnum channel, where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to kind of a do-it-yourself budget hot rodding and at the same time an in-your-face video. This is kind of one of those old school crossovers we used to do on the channel all the time. As I'm sitting here on the one good fender that Project Spirit has, you guys will notice that if you've seen any of the pictures prior to today's video, or for that matter, just some of the other, stuff we've been doing, you'll note that there's some damage that wasn't on Project Spirit after the accident, as opposed to when, we kind of went quiet about her because there was work being done behind the scenes. So there is video footage of that work being done. However, there were some things that happened before we had to move her back to HQ, okay? So look, we're going to talk about the damages that happened during that time frame and who did it, okay? So, out of the gate, this is obviously not my damage, okay? My damage is over here where I hit a deer. I know, oh dear, right? So, we're going to come back real quick. I'm going to get my camera woman, Princess Starsong, who's kind enough, very pregnant right now, and, I guess you could say she's getting her exercise in right now. We had started working on this, and we kind of got held up because of the weather, winter time coming. But we had gotten this done, but we're going to have to redo it again because, there's just more that has to be done, and we got to get that prime just right. So otherwise, the paint won't adhere. But it's not that it's underneath all of this. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, believe it or not. 50 years later, that steel is in really good shape. So we're going to take the primer back off, redo it, and we're going to do up underneath here one more time because we got the worst of it off, but I want to make sure that we've got good steel to work with underneath. So we'd already started there, and while we were waiting to get the money together to start getting the parts for. So so the work was being done, and her adopted, kind of a weird adopted brother, we'll just call him Professor Dakota. Alrighty, folks, this is about the time that, it's like, wow, this looks amazing. It's pretty well done. You got to shoot it with primer. You're right about that part, but it isn't done. Nope. There's one thing that we have yet to get to. And you know what that is? The other side. We obviously won't get to it in this part of the video, but let me just explain this to you very, very quickly. This is like that one date you were out on with that gal back in high school. You're done on this side, got to turn it over. Anyhow, so we're going to kind of leave that where it's at. Who's taken auto body before, was actually helping me with some of the work to Project Spirit, which is going to be important in what I'm about to tell you. Now, last year, as the filming of this video, y'all know that Princess Starsong had cut ties with her family. Her and my stepson Flame wanted nothing to do with with that family anymore, just because they're a bunch of, they're a bunch of racists, okay? They don't like Native Americans, and they don't like people that have different religious views, okay? That's their problem, which, by the way, Mama Magnum still thinks that they're low-life pieces of, well, you guys get the idea, because there's nothing wrong with her son, okay? So now that we've got that established, when we went to, move Project Spirit, there was additional damage. And we're going to do some kind of cuts and jumps so you guys can kind of see what we're dealing with, okay? So here's the first one that we're going to kind of talk about. Right here is a scorch mark from a torch. Now, I'm damn sure that's a scorch mark because my dad was a firefighter for 20 years, and I know what a burn mark looks like. And judging by where the mark begins, that's a torch. The intensity of the flame here going back, that should tell you everything you need to know. Now, granted, the other side has one to match it, but this one in particular, this is on a fender that's still good, still usable. Granted, we're going to be removing this fender and completely not using it for Project Spirit. But that does mean that someone who's restoring a Maverick can easily rework this fender, any rust that's on it, because even down here, I mean, that's starting to bubble a little bit, but that's still fixable. This is a fixable fender. This is not in that bad a shape. So they vandalized a perfectly, decent fender, original equipment, all right? So there you have that. We have that scorch mark, and we've got another one on the other side, but that one doesn't really bother me so much because of the fact that that fender's junk anyway, so I really don't care about that one. But it is kind of the principle of it that pisses me off. So now we've got that. The tires, we're going to do a quick cut. This was the tires 1 week prior to having to move Project Spirit when all this started coming down the pipe. Alright, so now you guys got that established. These tires, the front ones had the air let out of them. However, my camera woman won't be able to completely pick this up because she's very pregnant right now and getting up and down. But right here is an actual stab mark from a knife. Now, I know what stab marks look like, because this is not my first go in seeing something like that, and that is a pretty decent sized blade. So knowing that, the back tires were sliced, were pierced with a knife blade to let the air out, and that was pretty deep enough into the sidewall where any damage onto a sidewall for a tire you can't really repair anyways. So if it was up in the treads, you can usually get them repaired, but that's kind of where we're at on that. So we had no choice during that time with all 4 tires flat. I just told the tow truck driver, pull it up there on there anyways. Don't worry about it. I'm replacing the wheels anyways. But that did make the job a whole lot harder. And because of that, these tires were pretty much brand new when they were basically destroyed. So this is an act of vandalism. I mean, pretty much brand new tires. You guys can kind of see the tread. There's a lot of tread left on these tires. So they were pretty well brand new. Matter of fact, I know the back ones were. Because we did the, before the accident, we had that winter video where Project Spirit was driving home in snowy weather, and right after that we got brand new tires for the back of her, which I ended up having to take a couple more days off from work for that, because you have to break those tires in. So once they had the roads and everything good and cleared, and then we got those tires broke in, it wasn't so bad. So you guys got that now to work with. Now up under the hood, this was done because if you needed to start Project Spirit, she could run for a few moments without the radiator, okay? We could have easily just ripped that fan off, start her up, and helped use to pull her up. The tires were flattened, and then they also cut the spark plug wires, which you guys can see right here. And they cut, they cut some of the spark plug wires, and they cut the wire to the ignition coil, which is right here in the middle, which you can see that's a good clean cut. So this was done by wire cutters, all right? You can really see that now. That's too clean of a cut. So this was done by wire cutters, and this was done to make it harder to move Project Spirit. because of the fact that they want to keep control of Princess Starsong. So that is why those were cut, which is more of a nuisance sort of thing, because regardless, I wasn't going to start her up at that time. Even by removing the fan and everything, there was no sense in me doing that, because there's always that chance with an engine this old that something could have went wrong. So I'm not going to start her, I'm just going to pull her up there. So these damages were done in an attempt to keep us from being able to move Project Spirit. Now, one of two things could have happened from that. It could have been, and as I started to say, it was an attempt to basically keep Princess Starsong under her family's thumb, which does sound about right, or two, make it where they can then have Project Spirit towed to some scrapyard and basically deprive me of my project car. Because why? They're lowlifes, okay? They don't, they don't have anything this cool, so, why let someone else have something this cool, and again, they're racist, okay? That's just what it boils down to. They're fucking racist. So now that we have that established, we need to figure out which one of her shitty-ass family members would have been the one to do the damage. Now, secretly, the family does not know that, that some of the family is trying to accuse the, Professor Dakota of being the one to do the damage. No, because he's helped me work on the car. That doesn't make any sense. I've never known anyone to do that. So, the answer to that is, no, he didn't. I know better than that. So then, that narrows it down to now 3 possibilities in her family. Princess Starsong's biological brother, well, there's no nice way of saying it. He's too stupid to know how to do this sort of damage. He's way too stupid. And he knows if I caught wind of it, I'd bust him in two. So that now narrows it down to her dad or one of her or her adopted brother, Christopher. I think you're about to see where this is going to go. Her dad is a small business owner, which by this clip you'll know, and I'll have to explain the context of this clip, you'll know what I mean. Right. He runs a small construction company called the Help Improvement Construction Company, or just Help Improvement for short. Now, why would he allow damage like this to be done to a car like this, knowing full well that if it got out, that his business life is over? Okay? He's done. All right? Which, by the end of this video, that's kind of what we're shooting for anyways. All right? So, now you guys have that context to work with, okay? So that narrows it down to her brother, Christopher. You know, the same one that in this area, everyone knows him because of an accident where he loses control of a truck, slams into an Amish buggy, and kills an infant. Now, granted, it was ruled as an accident because of the brakes failing, but I've looked at that accident report, and by the extent of the damage that was described in the accident report and everything, as I mentioned, my dad was a firefighter for 20 years, and I might know a thing or two about accidents. Knowing that, I know how fast he was going, and I know what the speed limit was. he still should have been arrested. So he's the most likely candidate for this. Now, granted, this is all purely speculation, and we'll just have to leave it as allegedly, but it was one of them because, you know, number one, I'm not going to damage my own car like this. I mean, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to have an accident that was unavoidable where a deer runs out in front of me. You know, kind of like that. That's going to be the damage you're going to more likely see on a car like this from someone like me. So, it stands to reason they did this, and they did this in response to cause problems for my family because, again, they're racist. And they don't like the fact that their adopted daughter is with a Native American who's pagan and can do multiple things, including act. That's right. They have a problem with a certain character I play. Even if you don't like the character, you still got to appreciate the acting skills, you know. But that's not the way they view it, okay? So now that I've polarized an entire community, and basically it's like, why is anyone doing business with these people anymore? I don't know. That's a good question. Okay, that's a question at this point that still leaves guys like me scratching their head, because any business that would do business with that, you almost have to wonder where they stand morally. Now that we've got that established, again, Princess Starsong wants nothing to do with that family. Now, she's got her own story to tell there, and once things settle down enough where I know her and our dear friend Spaz Baby can kind of chit-chat about it, I know it's going to make one hell of a documentary. And Spaz does some pretty awesome documentaries. Looking at her last one, that one was hard for me to follow, but she did some serious journalism. So, that's something to really take, one way or the other, the police is now involved, and it actually, ironically, has nothing to do with Project Spirit. Because, again, even though we know who did it, we didn't see him do it, so it's kind of a he said, she said sort of situation. However, her dad did make the mistake of continually showing up here when, and of course her mom had to do it too, showing up at this apartment complex when, let me explain to you guys. All right, this is public property, okay? Where I am standing, this is public property. Anybody can be here, okay? It's part of the public. This is private property. Going all the way back, it is private property. And if you have no reason to be here, you are trespassing. That is the law, okay? Now, some police officers did try that whole thing where they wanted to split hairs. And once I explained that, maybe you should come down to the prosecutor's office and fill out an ex parte and or see about getting a restraining order. Nay, I say, as a famous comedian who's now no longer with us used to say. The reason why I won't do that is, number one, that's going to require me taking a day off from work, standing in front of a judge with the possibility that I may not get that restraining order. Number two, this is not Nazi Germany. We do not bury people in paperwork. And number three, I already made the ex parte. I called the police department. It's their job after that, okay? And very importantly, I want to point out that even a restraining order or even an ex parte, yeah, they're not supposed to be within X amount of feet. But the thing of it is here's the part that the police sometimes tend to forget, okay? And that really is that until, if they show up here, until they arrive, we have a problem, okay? A lot of things can happen in that time frame. So this is an issue. And again, this is something I had to point out to the police department. They got it right away. Thank you, Chief, by the way. Doug Calvert, the Von Terror City PD, he understood everything I was saying and completely agreed with me. The last we heard, a police report from the last time they showed up here is now going in front of the prosecutor. And yes, we are pressing charges to the fullest extent of the law. They have no reason to be here. One way or the other, we will see justice served, okay? Even if it requires the community just not doing business with them anymore, and we push them out of the area, which that should have happened anyways, considering, as I mentioned, the accident. So at this point in the game, many of you say, this is horrible. I mean, now you've got more work on Project Spirit. Granted, we were going to have to do a tune-up anyways. It just makes my job a little harder because now I got to find a couple of wires and make sure I get the right firing order. That does present a problem. An annoyance, but not a serious problem. Just an annoying one. The damages to the tires, we're changing the wheels anyways. We're going to find something a little bit more suitable. But if I wanted to reuse those tires, now I can't. Okay, and the fender, we're going to have to replace this one anyways to match the one that I got on the other side. It's the idea that it happened to begin with. So this is just a prime example of militant Christians who think they're entitled when no, they're not. Okay, white militant Christians that think they're entitled and no, they're not. Christians, this is why some of us have an ill view of the religion anymore. And bear in mind, at one point in time, I was almost a Pentecostal preacher. It's things like this that turn me away. Fix it, please. Alrighty, so we covered it all. Now, many of you are going to be asking, what can I do to help? Now, we just did, as the filming of this video, we did a live stream to raise some money, and we did do that. And many of the people in the community have reached out and have actually been helping finance the rebuild. We've found pretty much all the parts we're going to need, okay? We pretty well found them. There's a couple of them that's kind of iffy. We're not 100% sure. We're just going to have to, do some checking. The hard part is finding original OEM equipment. But thankfully, a lot of aftermarket equipment is still being made for these cars. Ironically enough, we even found for the windows here, we even found that they still make some, and I didn't think they did, but there's still a company out there that can get their hands on the seals that go around the windows for whenever you roll them up or down, which, as you can tell, we're going to need new ones anyways. So we're in luck there. They even make fenders, and we'll be able to get a hood reasonably cheap. The hard part is getting something, say, like a grill or something to that effect, because that's original equipment, and most people are going to the aluminum bar grills, but boy, they're expensive. And then you still got to have mounting points for things like the turn signals, so you can see where this is going to be a tough challenge. And some of you have even gone so far as to reach out to me and say, well, I know where this car is, where you can get the parts from it. And in every instance that I've seen those cars, we're not chopping up another Maverick, because those cars could be put back on the road. My suggestion with those vehicles, purchase them yourself and put them back on the road. It'll make one hell of a cool car. There's not many people out there with these cars anymore. So that's kind of where we're at. If there's no, we pretty well know where we're getting everything. There's no sense in us doing any searching. Right now, it's a matter of, if you want to help financially, great. We're glad that we want you, we'll take all the help we can get, but that's kind of where we're at. We know where everything is. It's a matter of money. Now, regardless, one way or the other, that's still going to happen. There's a lot of big things that are happening that are not on camera. That's really nobody's business. Things like income tax returns, things like that. That's going to make this go a whole lot faster. But if we could speed the process up, we will. Because there's a lot of things that we still want to do with this car that's definitely going to be coming up in video very soon. So, with that being said, get over to Patreon, $1 a month, and you can then put back into the project cars. And number two on this one, Get over to Teespring. All proceeds go back into the project cars as well. Get your hands on some Prince Magnum channel merchandise. And last but definitely not least, get out there and work on a project. Don't care what it is, just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. And as always, for every last one of you no one out there has told you that they love you today. Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
Sayer, 6.22 with an over 116 miles an hour. And right now, good time to go get a hot dog while we wait for Cam.